Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is one of the classic children's films to be released after the Motion Picture Association of America established a rating system. Based upon the novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl, it received a cult following over the years and allowed for a remake in 2005. Even though the opening credits list Dahl as author of the screenplay, the film itself was actually made according to another draft written by David Seltzer, who went uncredited. He made changes that went against Dahl's wishes, such as writing a musical and a slightly different ending from its original source material. Due to these changes, Dahl disowns the film. If you're unfamiliar, it's a story of a boy named Charlie who lives with a poor family. He soon learns of the factory owned by Willy Wonka, who keeps the factory locked up to avoid spies coming in to steal his recipes, especially his arch-rival Arthur Slugworth. He still works on chocolate production, and it is soon announced that 5 of the Wonka chocolate bars that are being sold all over the world will have a golden ticket, entitling each finder to a tour around the factory and a lifetime supply of chocolate. The first half of the film establishes Charlie's poverty and ambition to get one of the golden tickets until he finally gets one, making him one of the 5 lucky winners, alongside Augustus Gloop, who eats too much, Veruca Salt, who is a spoiled brat, Violet Beauregard, who is obsessed with her gum, and Mike Teavee, who is a couch potato. The second half is the tour around the factory, guided by none other than Willy Wonka himself, played by Gene Wilder. Throughout the second half, each of the other kids get ejected from the tour and we don't see them again for the rest of the film, though we are assured that they will be completely fine in the end. There is so much this film does right. The characters, the costume design, the sets, the songs. There's so much more that goes into this film than most of what you'd find nowadays. Yeah, it's silly, but that's the whole beauty of it. We love laughing at how ridiculous such an idea can be. The presentation is like watching a cartoon. They enter what seems like a secluded room with no other door, but when they go out that door, they're all of a sudden in a different place. And even though the door to the Candyland looks too small for anyone to enter standing straight, as soon as it opens, it's bigger than anyone's standing height. It's just so much fun seeing how much imaginary stuff unfold before your eyes. They really had an eye for quality, even if it doesn't look the most up to date. But the scene that people seem to bring up the most is the tunnel scene, particularly if they're talking about scary or odd nostalgic moments. I never watched this film growing up, but this scene is insane. The boat's getting faster, colors flash in the dark tunnel, strange images appear such as crawling bugs and a chicken getting its head cut off, and all the while everyone's freaking out, Willy Wonka keeps his cool by singing some rhymes. Then his voice starts getting louder, his rhymes are getting more aggressive. Then the ride's over and you have no idea what the heck just happened. For the rest of the film, it's never spoken of again. I've read somewhere that the idea of the tunnel was to serve as a warning to what may come of those who continue to thieve anything from the factory. Remember, this scene was after Augustus got sucked up a pipe from the chocolate river. The reason? He was tasting the chocolate and ignoring Wonka's urging to stop. Anyway, the adults are the only ones that understand the imagery, thus the reason the other kids, excluding Charlie, make their exits after not learning their lesson, pretty much allowing for the film's message about not being greedy. See? This is back when children's films were children's films. Rather than just a bunch of flashing lights, gross-out humor, dated jokes, and a cliché fest of a story that only exists to keep the kids quiet for an hour and a half. There are some good children's films in the modern day, but not very many. In old times, it was more simple because there was no internet back then. Films like this were able to use bright colors without going too overboard. As C.S. Lewis once said, a children's story that can only be enjoyed by children is not a good children's story in the slightest. There is a lot of truth to it. We don't just watch children's films for nostalgia, we watch them because we still love them even as adults. This is an example of such children's story. It can be enjoyed by both children and adults. What a scrumdiddly-umptious flick!